if you went out North Road, Shands, which was most along North Road, was another farm that was broken up into different things. And so there were just many farmers all over the place. In fact, many mornings I got wakened, at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning with a telephone call. You got to come over. We don't have any water for the cows, and we got to give them cows. So that I'd have to get up and go take the well apart and fix it and whatnot. But you had Myers, which now was Lowensteiner, which now is, what do they call it now? Just off of North Road there, where they grow flowers on over here on 517. But that is what's used to be Myers Farm, and they used to go up in the well. You pulled the thing out of the ground, and it was not the most fun thing to do in the wintertime, because the way the water pumps worked was the pump sit on top of the ground, and there was a rod that went inside the pipe that went down to get the water. That was oak rods, and they came in various lengths, anywhere from like 10 feet to like 15 feet long, with a metal clip on the end with a screw thread. And what you had to do was grab a hold of those, and you'd pull them up one by one by one in the air. And if you've ever tried something made out of wood, try to get a 10-foot long piece, stick in a ear up, and try to hold fast so you could turn it to unscrew it. A lot of fun. And then at the very bottom was a washer that was a cup washer, which was a leather piece that was meant, and then they were back to back. One went up and one went down, and you put those on, and then you pushed back down in the well again, and you hooked it back up, and then when that's the pump turned these things, it would move them up and down, and you got water. So that's how it would work. But when they fell apart, it was not the most fun thing to do. And the other way we only had one. There was a farm that was down toward Peapack, and that ran with a ram. And a ram is a device that you put in the water, and the water flows through it, and as water flows through it, a certain amount of water gets wasted, a certain amount of water is pressurized and pushed through the pipe, goes on up and feeds the house. And that's all done with a balancing spring. And if you think it's fun, you try to get that thing you get the water flowing through, and unless you could get the spring to agitate back and forth, it wouldn't pump, it would stop. And then you'd have to hit it with a mallet and get it so it got the right sequence. And there was an adjustment, and you get it so that the amount of water coming through and there would sequence, and it would perpetual motion, and it would go back and forth all by itself. So
how long would it take you to do that type of fix?
Sometimes minutes, and sometimes an hour, sometimes all day, depending on if your weather was dry and this thing would stop working correct. You had to recalibrate it to a lesser stream of water. And I never worked on it, but my father used to say he had worked on one up on top of Pleasant Hill, that there was one that you used to have to set with a sledgehammer, because it was a huge one that the spring was off, which would be basically more or less where the ending of the golf course is in Flanders, where it came up and met Chester, was where this spring was that they had the thing in, and it used to feed the farm up on the whole top of the hill up there, which there. But so it would be very different than the way you do things today. Believe me. I mean, today we take a submersible pump and hook it fast to a piece of plastic and put some wire to it and throw it in the well, and it's all done. But not back then.